Senate approves $5.8 billion 2018-2020 borrowing request. Inflation drops to 15.40% in November 2021 from 15.99% in October 2021. And World Bank announces $93 billion replenishment package of the International Development Association for low-income countries. As oil prices rise this Thursday, this is Business Express reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Musa Abubakar. Let's bring you up to speed with business development. We begin with the news that the Federal Executive Council has approved a comprehensive review and upgrade of the various welfare packages of the Nigerian police personnel for enhanced service delivery. The Minister of Police Affairs, Mohammed Megari Dengyadi, who briefed journalists after the council's meeting presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari, said the new pay package will take effect from January next year.
I'm particularly very happy today to inform Nigerians through you gentlemen who are here that the Federal Executive Council under the chairmanship of Mr. President has approved the review and the upgrading of the take-home pay of police personnel in this country. The Council has also approved a tax waiver in the sum of 18,600 million for junior officers of the police in order to increase their take-home pay. Similarly, government has also approved the increase of the current rent subsidy, which is currently between 15 to 20%, amounting to 61 billion. Increase is to 40% of the consolidated police salary structure that is composed in the sum of 78,300 million naira. That is to say an increase of about 16,400 million naira.
The drive to promote the nation's non-oil export sector has continued to gain traction as the Nigerian Export Promotion Council deploys more techniques towards ensuring premium pricing for Nigerian exportable produce. The latest is the certification of SMEs under the Council's Go for Certification initiative in line with global practice. Comfort Amadu reports.
There have been an appreciable growth and development in Nigerian's non-oil export, with the strategic push by the Nigerian Export Promotion Council to transform the sector. However, there is a snag. It is the high rate of export rejects of some agricultural produce from Nigeria in the international markets due to quality requirements and certification from accredited authorities, especially with small and medium enterprises. But the cheering news is all that is changing. This is because the Nigerian Export Promotion Council is taking key steps to increase Nigerians' competitiveness and access to the domestic and export markets with the presentation of certification to beneficiary SMEs exporters.
The African Continental Free Trade Area, we cannot assess it if we don't do this. So with this certification, we can fully assess the aftermarket without any hindrance.
The Council has also trained more than 2,000 SMEs under its Go Global, Go for Certification initiative for manufacturers and food processors to ensure premium pricing of their products in the global market.
By undertaking a third-party audit against standard requirements by an accredited certification body.
I mean, you can't export processed goods made in Nigeria in international market without ISO 22000, without HACCP or FDA, which all the certification I have thanks to Nigerian Export Promotion Council.
The Nigerian Export Promotion Council is also collaborating with the German Corporation International and other stakeholders to build capacity of exporters in Abuja, Comfort and Madu.
Now it's 10 days to Christmas and shopping is at top gear for the celebration. One key commodity on the shopping list of most Nigerians is meat, from beef to rams and goats, turkey as well as chicken. On a general note, the prices of goods in the country is on the increase with the rise in inflation, and the price of meat is not exempted. Well, what exactly is the situation? We have joining us from Kaduna the CEO of Livestock 24/7, Ibrahim Megari, to give us insight into the actual market situation. You're welcome to Business Express.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, tell us, how is the meat market situation across the country? Like, as Christmas is around the corner.
Well, surprisingly, we've not seen the expected increase that we, like you all correctly observed with the inflation and all. There's just an attendant increase attributable, I think, to mostly rise in cost of transportation at the moment, especially in the Lagos area, because you need to know that the livestock sector is basically production and farming is another thing, and then consumption is mostly in the south. So, for instance, last week we moved a truck from the northeastern part of the country to Lagos for a cost of about 1.2 million. And that, of course, affects the landing cost of livestock and, of course, the derivative of livestock, which is meat. So in terms of large ruminants, cows that we call them, there's not been any, an average cow goes for about 300,000 currently at the Agege abattoir. And so there's no attendant increase per se, because during this festive period, most celebrants consume the small ruminants like goats, sheep, and chicken and turkey, like you observe. So there's a slight increase in the price of goats, for instance. An average goat now goes for about 20,000 instead of the 13, 15,000 that it used to be some months ago. And that, like I said, it's as a result of the rise in the cost of transportation. And most of the haulage companies do attribute that to the rise in the cost of diesel. And for chicken, and I think we've seen an increase over the past few months, mainly due to the issues of feeds, like we all know in the poultry sector. A 3.5 kg bird now goes for about between 5,000 to 7,000, and less than that you can get it at less amount. So we've seen a brief rise, but not as we expected, to be very frank with you. Things have been stable. I think it has a lot to do with the poor economic fortune, the pocket size of most Nigerians. People are prioritizing, I guess, and that's the situation at the moment. Thank you.
Okay, do you think the situation will continue till Christmas?
Yeah, definitely. And the situation I just gave to you now is the current situation in the market as what according to what our operation team observed yesterday. But like as usual, the closer we get to Christmas, the higher it goes, because of course the forces of demand and supply. More people will be looking for meaty products, and of course that drives up transportation. And mind you, most of the transporters at that time will find it difficult to transport goods. The closer you get to Christmas, most of the drivers will also be going on break, or some of them will be closing down. So we have less trucks moving goods, and then of course, and with the demand on products, it's perennially we've been seeing the closer you are to Christmas, the more expensive the products will become, due to the factors that I mentioned before.
Okay, there are insinuations attributing Or rather, please, can you give us an insight into the National Livestock Transformation Plan, which I believe you are actively involved?
Well, the National Livestock Transformation Project of the federal government, the current regime, and to be frank, I don't know where it is at the moment, but I was part of the team when it started a couple of years ago. I think it's one of the most comprehensive project and documents that I've seen coming from the government in terms of solving a lot of problems in the sector. I mean, the livestock sector, the development of the livestock sector has been hindered perennially by the farmer harder crisis, and the government thought the best way to address that in order to serve as an enabler to the development of the sector is to come up with concrete steps that addresses the issue. Like we all know, the farmer harder crisis, from the perspective of government and most professionals that know what is happening, is basically a resource problem, and the farmer needs his land to rightfully so, and the harder too is looking for water and fodder. So the federal government carefully designed a document to address such issues by coming up with some key components to address those issues. So, and it went on and on and on for some years. Currently, I don't know where it is, but I and many of my likes in the sector believe that the National Livestock Transformation Project is one of the best and most comprehensive solution to these issues that we've been facing for so many years: the farmer harder crisis, the lack of activity in the sector, the invitation of the private sector investment into the sector, and what we at our own organization, what we've been calling for is what we call the de-ethnicization of the livestock sector. You can't de-ethnicize the livestock sector if you don't open up the sector and allow all sorts of people. Like we always say, the cow has no tribe. It is not Isekiri, it is not Yoruba, it is not Fulani, it's not Hausa. All that the cow needs is fodder, feeds, water, and excellent veterinary care. So, and I think the basis of the National Livestock Transformation Agenda is to de-ethnicize the sector by bringing in a lot of players. When you bring in a lot of players, people will see the business side of the livestock business instead of seeing the ethnic side of the livestock business. But currently, I don't know where it is with the government. I think you should take it up with the representatives of the Federal Ministry of Agri or the presidency, where the project is domiciled initially. I don't know where they are currently, but I think it's one of the most comprehensive, one of the most thought through solutions to the problems bedeviling the sector. Yeah.
Where are we in the implementation of the plan, and what role is the private sector playing?
If I get you correctly, you are asking where are we in the implementation and what role,
of course,
the private sector should play, right?
Yeah.
So implementation, I think we had several meetings, we had several interactions with the secretariat handling the project back then. And I remember that there was a pilot that was supposed to be unveiled, I think with Nasarawa State. There were some I think initiatives with the secretariat handling the project with the Nasarawa State government to serve as a pilot phase for the project. That was when we lost touch with what the secretariat was doing. But in terms of expectation of the private sector, like I explained to you, most people don't understand that the livestock sector is big business. It's a multi-billion dollar business, and I think the vision and the objective of the National Livestock Transformation Project is to address that. For instance, Lagos, where we are headquartered, Lagos consumes averagely about 6,000 cows a day. This is statistics that we got from the Lagos Ministry of Agriculture as far back as 2016. And if you translate that into the average cost that I gave you of 300,000, running into billions. And our organization did a survey. I'm just trying to give you some stats. Our organization did a survey a few years ago to really find baseline survey, and we took two cattle posts, Lokoja and Mokwa Jeba, to understand the traffic. And in 1 week, we got over 1,458 trucks. And then when we say a truck of livestock, that's averagely about 33 cows. So when you translate that into numbers, it's about 40-something thousand cows in a week. Mind you, in a week, going down to the south. This is almost about 7-point-something billion naira in a week of transaction. So what we're trying to say here is, if a sector as this, with this kind of transaction going on that is left unregulated, unstructured, not formalized. There's more that meets the eye. I think we need to look beyond the politics. We need to de-ethnicize. We need to look at, because wherever you are from, you drink milk, you eat meat, and you use leather products. So if you look at the livestock sector as a business, you attract people that are naturally not supposed to be interested in that sector if you remove the wool, if you de-ethnicize, depoliticize. And that's what we've been trying to do. This is a multi-billion naira sector that's calling for investment, and you don't need to be House of Fulani or Igbo or whatever to participate in the sector.
Okay, thank you very much, CEO of Livestock 24/7, Ibrahim Megari.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay. Now moving on. Meanwhile, the Senate has approved the 2018-2022 federal government external borrowing plan of $5.8 billion United States dollars. The legislators also debated on the general principles of the Gender and Equal Opportunities Bill. Chairman of the committee, Senator Clifford Odie, in his presentation said the $2.3 billion will be sourced from the World Bank, $2.3 billion from the German consortium, $90 million, among others.
The terms and conditions of the loan from funding agencies be forwarded to the National Assembly prior to the execution of same for approval and proper documentation.
It's $5,803,000,000 and a grant of $10,000. Those in favor of this recommendation say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
The World Bank has announced a $93 billion replenishment package of the International Development Association, IDA, to help low-income countries respond to the COVID-19 crisis and build a greener, more resilient and inclusive future. The financing brings together $23.5 billion of contributions from 48 high and middle-income countries, with financing raised in the capital markets, repayments, and the World Bank's own contributions. The financing package, agreed over a two-day meeting hosted virtually by Japan, is the largest ever mobilized in IDA's 61-year history. The fund will be delivered to the world's 74 poorest countries under the 20th Replenishment Program, which focuses on helping countries recover from the impacts of COVID-19 crisis. In these countries, the ongoing pandemic is worsening poverty, undermining growth, and jeopardizing the prospects of a resilient and inclusive development. Countries are struggling with falling government revenues, increasing debt, vulnerabilities, rising risk to fragility, conflict and instability, as well as dropping literacy rates. About a third of IDA countries are facing a looming food crisis. Now, data from the National Bureau of Statistics shows that inflation has declined continuously for 8 months. Consumer Price Index (CPI), which measures inflation, dropped to 15.40% in November 2021 from 15.99% in October 2021, fallen by 0.59%. Statistician General of the Federation, Simon Harris, says this shows that government effort at improving the economy is yielding results.
The decline continued to the month of November with a figure of 15.40% on year-on-year basis. And so this is an improvement when compared to the corresponding month of October 2020, which recorded a figure of 14.89%. And so looking at this, you discover that between the month of October and the month of November, we have a decreasing percentage of the points of 0.59%.
Nigeria beat other countries in Africa and the Middle East that are implementing the Open Government Partnership to emerge first position. This is coming on the heels of independent review of reforms embarked upon by implementing countries. The review tracked and assessed milestones achieved by the Nigerian government in setting up beneficial ownership registry to end anonymous companies in the country.
a lot of improvements since then. Naiti kept pushing and pushing. President Muhammad Buhari, while attending the anti-corruption summit in London, made a commitment, first of all, to the Open Governance Partnership, and Nigeria committed to sign and did sign by July of that year, and also made a commitment to establishing an open register of beneficial ownership of companies operating in Nigeria.
The first step we took was to ensure that there was a deadline within which Nigeria will queue into the beneficial ownership disclosure. So we published a roadmap, and that roadmap was streamed into our national and country work plans.
Our Surviving COVID-19 series is next with Bossy Abel.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria.
I'm into shea butter business, and I've been into the business for the past 4 years. And the business, by God's grace, has been very lucrative. It's a good business, though it's seasonal. Okay, we usually sell more during Harmattan period and rainy season when there is usually cold. People use it usually that period very well. We don't sell much like between February down to April. The business is low.
Why?
Because the weather is very hot at that particular time, and some people that usually use it for as cream, they won't be able to use it because of the heat season. People use it during cold when there is people that usually have cough, catarrh. They use it, and since my number is on the product, so they do call me and I do deliver it. So people, they patronize me during that period very well. I'm not the one producing it. I bought it, produced, then repack it. I do repack it. You know, it's solidified. So I melt it, then repack it to my own taste. I do supply in supermarkets and shops. Like this one now, I supply at the rate of 200. Okay. Then this is 150 grams. I supply at the rate of 300. And this 300 grams, I supply it at the rate of 500. During the lockdown, there was no movement per se. So the only thing is that people that have my number, they do call me. They call me for delivery. So I send it to them. The Chinese people have entered the market also. So now the price has gone up. Because of the COVID, they buy it there and they take it to their place. A friend of mine got the CBN loan intervention. So that was how I had it. I was told that it's no longer, they are no longer giving the loan. So I don't know how true it is. So I'm somehow relaxed about it anyway, but actually I will need the loan if I get it. Because now it's a small and medium scale business. So I would like to establish it and go into wholesale. And you can see that if Chinese can come all the way to buy it from the market, so if I have enough cash, I'll go into it in a big way.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of.
Now let's take a look at global stock markets.
Asia-Pacific markets were mixed Thursday as investors digested the U.S. Federal Reserve's indications that its run-off ultra-easy monetary policy since the start of the pandemic is coming to a close. In Japan, the Nikkei 225 rose 2.13% to 29,066.32, while Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index slipped 0.31%. European stocks are expected to open much higher on Thursday as investors in the region digest the U.S. Federal Reserve's decision to accelerate the reduction of its monthly bond purchases. UK's FTSE index is seen opening 61 points higher at 7,235. Germany's DAX higher by 161 points at 15,651, and France's CAC 40 up 99 points at 7,028. U.S. stock indices rose in early morning trade Thursday after the Federal Reserve signaled it would be aggressive on tapering and sees 3 interest rate hikes in 2022. The Dow Jones Industrial Average jumped about 100 points, S&P 500 and Nasdaq 100 added 0.37% and 0.54% respectively. Nneka Uko, Business Express.
Well, that's it. Join us again on Friday at 3 p.m. for another episode. I am Musa Abubakar.